Hello again, and thank you for stopping by. This is a video on my BR20. It's a Tascam BR20 T tape recorder. I've had this for several years now. I bought this deck from its original owner. The guy had a home studio, and he stopped recording, and he was selling out his gear, and I was lucky enough to get this deck off of him. The deck is in pristine condition, really. A couple weeks ago, I was playing the deck, and it just stopped. So I figured, wow, what could happen here? The lights were on. It's just that the wheels, the motors weren't spinning. So right away I thought of the belt, and sure enough, I opened it up, and the belt is all worn out, right? Funny thing is, I went on eBay and sourced a belt, but I bought the wrong thing. It came with this skinny little belt came instead. So this is the original belt. Look at the size. You know, it's crazy. So anyway, I finally got the right belt, and I installed the belt already. But if you saw some of my videos before, I always say that it's difficult for me to work and talk at the same time. So, but one day I will get it. Okay. So anyway, what I've done so far is I pulled out the this is a capstan motor. I pulled it out. It's on a plate right here. So I had to remove this. This is the tape drive PC board. So I removed this, and then remove 6 screws here, right up in here, and the whole thing dropped down. So I was able to get to the belt and pull this one off, because what happened if this belt stayed too long, if let's say I don't use the tape for a long time, and a year or 6 months, or just not use it, this belt turned into a gluey mess. It's like tar, and it would be so difficult getting it off, you know, because the entire thing would melt. So by it loosening up, like getting to this stage where it's really loose, it was close to reach that stage. So I caught it just in time. So anyway, I replaced the belt and replaced the capstan motor and the tape. I mean the tape drive PC board. So in looking at the deck, inside is very dirty, and if you see my videos before, I always say that I like to work on clean deck. First thing I do with the deck, I clean it up. So looking at this, and I see a whole lot of dust. It's so dusty inside, all dusty, right? So but this one is the worst one. So I'm gonna pull it down and clean it properly. This is a real cool tool. I bought this off Amazon. It has magnet on the bottom here, and magnet on the top, and it can be turned like this. So if you're in tight spaces, you can just look, you know. And this is a telescopic one. Just pull it out like a pointer, right? So these are real good lights, and it's bright enough. Another one I bought is this one, right? It has a magnet here, right? And it's LED, so it's really bright. See that? So it's really light up inside. I usually use this big one here, but it's kind of awkward, and I always bumping my head on it. And as you can see, no here to take the hit. So so you can just imagine I'm bending down something and bam, that's crazy. So I'll be using this most of the time from now on. Anyway, so back to cleaning. So I'm gonna clean this up, let it look real nice, and then put it all back together. So let me start practicing to clean, to work and talk while I video. I've never done this before, so let's see. I can't say I'm gonna do the entire thing while I talk and video at the same time. I can't promise you that, but I'll do my best right here. Actually, I've never opened this thing before. This is the very first time I open it. I've never seen inside of one of this. But I can see it's very similar to, well, that's not true. It laid out really nicely. You have this circuit board, motherboard here, and then one board here, and this is the audio board, right? It's not too tight inside. You can reach to it. You can reach the components, and it's semi-modular, not as modular as the Revox that I've always worked on. But I tell you what, this thing weighs a ton. There's no way I could. Oh man, I tell you, this thing. I mean, this thing. It weighs a ton. It weighs. I'd say almost twice. Well, not quite twice, but it weighs much more than the B77 or PR99. This is really heavy, you know. So I can't see me repairing these deck as a hobby. It's too heavy. I just can't deal with it. But I like the deck. When it's all complete, I'll do a video on it. So back to cleaning. I'm gonna get my usual cleaning tools and just clean it all up, so you see what I'm talking about here. For the most part, these are my tools: alcohol, a brush. Normally, I also have a toothbrush to get into the creases, and my indispensable Q-tips. Right, those are really a must to help with cleaning. Usually, I use the brush and I usually would take this outside and brush it off outside, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to do it right here. But I'm not going to brush it. I'm going to use a Q-tip to start with. Microfiber cloth is also good. but you must realize that not every board you can use certain cleaning material on, or use certain tools, because some of these boards have sensitive electronics, and your cleaning material such as this might have static on it and damage the IC. You got to be careful of that. I wouldn't use that cloth on the motherboard. Right. So this here is a power supply, so it's okay. You can use that. See how bright this light is? Awesome. I bought it off Amazon. It's like about 29 bucks. It's not too bad. Another thing too, while you're cleaning, a lot of resin is on the board. So if with the alcohol, it will kind of soften up the resin and make it feel sticky. So I got to be careful. And I don't want to use a water-based cleaner to clean this board, because it might cause corrosion later on. So I rather just deal with the stickiness than to have it corroded. So I just pretty damp it through, clean it off. I think this is just an obsession of mine to make sure it's all clean. Sometimes it really. Sometimes you see people list their items on eBay, for example, and they never clean that thing, man. It's just so nasty. If I list something on eBay or any place, Craigslist, wherever, it's going to be clean. I can't guarantee that every millimeter or centimeter will be cleaned, but it's going to be close to it. But the Tascam decks are really nice decks. The first deck I ever worked on was what is it? TIAC X10R, I think it was. The story behind that deck is I bought the deck off of eBay, the very first deck I ever purchased. Bought it for like about $350. I won the auction on it. The guy showed video with the deck working, spinning wheel, everything working fine. So I won the auction. When the deck came, nothing worked. The entire thing just stuck. Nothing moved on the deck. Couldn't believe it. So I contacted the seller, sent video with it of the deck, pictures, everything on eBay. And he says, okay, it damaged during shipment. So I took his word for it, because I didn't know anything about deck, about reel-to-reel tape deck. So I requested my money back, and sure enough, he refunded my money, and he says, okay, I'll refund your money and I will file a claim. So I left it at that. So I got my money back. So, and then I says to him, I'll send back the tape to you, but you have to pay for it. I'm not gonna pay to ship it back, because I pay to ship it to me at my cost, and it's no good. So you have to get it back. You have to pay for it to come back. You know what he says to me? He says to me, okay, you can keep it, scrap it if you like, you get more money for it that way. So I say, okay. So I kept the deck. So I have it here for several months, and I'm looking at the deck. I'm like, wait a while, I might be able to fix this deck. Let me see what's going on here. So I tiptoed into the deck, open it up. I mean, it gave me a hard time. It took me a long time to figure out how to get the panels off. So when I finally get into the deck, the capstan belt was all gooey. It turned into tar, you know, turned into total tar. It was terrible to get off, and the transport was completely frozen. Nothing moved. It was completely frozen. You know what I mean? Nothing, couldn't move. So I stayed there and I figured it out, and I pull it up, soak the parts in I think it was gasoline or some fluid, and to clean it up. And sure enough, I cleaned up the deck, and put a new belt on it, and the deck worked. Put it back together. The deck worked perfectly. I mean, I said, wow, you know, I feel so good about myself fixing that deck, you know. The electronics was good. The electronics was fine. It worked fine. Nothing wrong with the electronics. It was just the mechanicals, you know, physical. That was terrible. So I kept the deck for several years, and then I have a friend in Maryland who is into music. He's got a home studio, and I told him I was into reel-to-reel deck. Man, I'm into this reel-to-reel deck. He said, man, really? Man, I've been looking for one, man. I've been looking for one. Can you help? I said, yeah, I have one. I can. And boom. By that, I start buying several decks. I think I bought this at that time too, during that period too. And then I got Revox, I got Pioneer, I got Tandberg. Man, I ended up with about 12 to 13 decks in the house. My wife think I was crazy. Why you have so much decks? Yeah, so that was the story of that Tascam that I got for free. I mean TIAC that I got for free. I want to show you a little trick. I'm sure many people must have known this, but when I putting on things like this, it's really hard to catch the screw, and sometimes the screw drop off, and sometimes it drops into little holes, and I can't get to it. So what I do, I get a piece of tape. Like this, right? And I put the screw like that, and then I take the screw onto the screwdriver, like so, right? I tape it up like that. So you see, it holds it, right? And then I come like this. Voila. My screw doesn't fall off. So I've been doing that little trick for a long time. I'm sure other people may find that useful, but it's really helped me a lot not to lose the screw down into small crevices. Alright, so let's get on with this. Another good thing to have too is a long screwdriver like this, you know. These screwdrivers have a long reach, so one should always have one in their arsenal when you do repair. Well, when you do any repair, not just tape deck. So I have that. You see that? Long old screwdriver. Okay, so now I can tighten this up. So this deck, I've never done anything to this deck. This is the first time I ever open up this deck, as I said before, because it's working properly, you know. I record and play back on it, and everything's fine. No issues whatsoever. So the original owner used Ampex 456 tape on it. So I'm sure it was calibrated for that tape. So I didn't change anything. I just used that tape. Like my Revox and stuff. Like my Revox, I use LPR90 on it. So all the Revox are calibrated for LPR90. I'll keep this one, you know, as is. So the next step now is to reassemble the deck, because my cleaning is, this was a short cleaning because it's not too bad. This deck is pretty good. It's just that there was so much dust on the circuit cards. But overall, I give it a good score. It's real good. Yeah. Normally I take a lot of pictures when I pull down something. All right. So you got to remember where everything goes. Otherwise, chaos. Chaos. As you can tell, I didn't take picture when I did this deck. when I start pulling this apart, so I gotta figure this out. But I'll get it. It's no problem. I'll figure this one out. At least I know this goes here. That's the only place it can go. Alright, that goes there. These are in place. Where's this going? Another thing I like to do is to dress up the wires inside the deck when I do it. So if the wires are like rat nests, I put them back together so that they are clean and they are, you know, nice and neat. I always feel like somebody's watching me. I have no privacy. No privacy at all. People are watch me. People are watch me and fit up back the deck. I bet 80% of my viewers don't understand what I just said. I'm talking in my native Jamaican patois. Me talking a Jamaican. So no now gonna know what me I say. Alright, I tell you what. I told you before, I find it hard to work and talk at the same time. So this is a work in progress. So I will bring you up to date on the progress of this deck, and I will give you a little demo of it when I'm finished. All right. So thank you for watching, and see you next time in part 2. Thank you. Do you think I would really leave you hanging like that and not showing you what I did? I think we were doing well so far. So here is what I hope the light is okay. Okay, so let's proceed. So in lieu of taking pictures, because I wasn't going to go deeply into this deck, I just mark it. I just mark, like for example this, where this came from, I just put it as red on the motherboard here, so I know where that goes. All right, goes right in there. Right, like so. And this one was marked black. You can see that black wire there, and it goes into the part that says black. Right, so we have that, and then this goes right there. So we're almost done. So, but I like to dress things up, man. This looks like a little rat nest right here. So I'm gonna put some wrapping on it. I gotta get my clipper. Okay, I'm back with my clipper. So I'm sure someone must have gone into this deck over the years, because these decks were, I think this was from the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. So someone must have invaded this space before. Have you ever have you ever worked on some decks, not just deck, but some equipment, and when you look, you have a whole bunch of screws left over, you know, you pull the thing apart and you feed it up, and then you have like many screws left over. This is not the case. I know where these screws goes, but that happened to me already, and then I have to pull down the thing again, and sure enough, I take my time and then find where every screw came from. That's really frustrating, you know what I mean? This reminds me of a story where this mechanic was working on this car. He rebuilt the engine. So when he finished rebuilding the engine, he had many bolts and washers and many screws left over. So his colleague says, "Man, how come you have so many screws left over? What are you gonna do with them? You have to." I said, "No, man. I just throw them in the engine, and the screws will just find themselves in place." You're gonna just throw the screws into the engine, and the screws will find their own place. That's a crazy story. I don't like to tighten these too much because sometimes you need a little play. A little neater, yeah. So just to make sure that I don't leave anything off, so I'm going to do a final inspection. Another thing I do Another thing I usually do also is pay attention to all the capacitors, the electrolytic capacitors, because they can just bulge up and ready to pop, you know. And remember, these decks are over 30 years old, so these caps are in there for a long time. So if I discover anything out of the ordinary, I just pay attention to it and get it resolved. This looks pretty neat, pretty good. The hardest thing is to match up every screw to where it belongs. But sometimes some screws have a bigger head, bigger thread, smaller thread. So you can pretty much figure things out. There they go. Another thing you should have is a lot of tie wraps. These are very helpful. Yeah, I have a whole bunch. Now I'm not just doing this extra cleaning for the camera, you know. This is just how I operate. Clean up everything. I just like everything dust-free, clean as possible. Now this deck is a Tascam BR20 T. Has something to do with time code. I have no idea what this time code is about, but it has to do with some syncing and timing when you're doing recording in certain professional environment. Because this deck is not a consumer deck, it's a proper studio type deck. This is the cover here. So I want to make sure that this fix this camera a bit. Alright, okay. No jerky perky. So you see the sun is coming out. Wow, the room is getting kind of a little hot. Okay, that's better. That one is better. All right, so deck is back almost intact. Just the for this deck, I use the RCA output. I don't use the XLR. I can use it, but if I go straight into my preamplifier, I will use the XLR. But I go through a DBX noise reduction unit, right? So I like to put a little deoxit on them to clean up the plugs. I also use a contact cleaner, CRC. It works well. Okay, so before I screw everything up, not literally, I mean when I say screw it up, meaning screw on the back, put the back in place. I'm gonna turn it on and see what gives. I didn't touch anything up here, so everything is still intact. I just concentrated down the bottom here, where the belt is, the capstan belt is located. I know I'm gonna bore you with my cleaning, but that's what I do, man. That's what I do. I'm just showing you exactly how it goes. Just like my car engine. I take my car to the mechanic like about in January. I drive an old car. My car is a 2011 BMW 135i. It's an old car, but guess what? It's an awesome little car. Everybody's after that. You know, many people ask me, "You selling that car?" You selling? No. But anyway, I took it to the dealer, not the dealer, the BMW specialist. Guy opened the engine. I saw him step back. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Why did he, what happened? I said, "Man, how you keep the engine like that?" I said, "What do you mean?" So look like the engine never touch. So man, that's the way I do it, man. I clean my engine. Every time I wash my car, the engine get a work over. So my engine has to be clean. So just like my tape decks, they have to be clean inside out. Okay, get things out of the way. I'm telling you, this tape deck weighs a ton, man. Jeez, this thing is heavy like hell. Whoa. Jesus. It's heavy, man. So I'm gonna load it up with let's see, I'm gonna get a Okay, I'm back. Just get some tape. Okay, this is the first tape I recorded on this deck. Oh hell. Okay. You have to bear with me a bit because my space is a bit cramped. This is just a bedroom in the front of my house that I converted into a little lab. So this tape is stored what's called tails out. So every time you come to play the tape, you have to rewind it onto this take-up reel. The reason being, when it's played and finish up on this take-up reel, the tape is packed and ready for storage. Really nice, packed really nice. So this is the take-up reel and this is supply wheel. So I'm going to rewind it on the supply. But first, we have to see if the deck turns on. Alright, fingers crossed. Alright, good sign, the capstan is turning. So right away I know that the belt was properly in place. Okay, so I am going to rewind the tape. While it's doing that, these knobs here are custom knobs. These are the original Tascam knobs for the tape. Alright, I just thought these look much better. I sourced this off eBay a long time ago, but I had to modify it somewhat to let it fit nicely. This thing is so buttery and nice. Just rewind real nice, free and nice. So what's happening here is this is a DBX 224X noise reduction unit, and I use this on my tapes. So I'm going to string up the tape through the DBX. So let me turn the tape off. Okay. So I think I'm ready. Let's see. Okay, so this tape was recorded at 15 IPS, so it's going through the DBX Ultima little speaker. These are just two computer speakers, Harman Kardon computer speakers. So it's just test speakers. I just use it to make sure that I get sound. Of course, I have the Tascam. I'll put that down later on. Wow, okay, so I replaced the belt, I cleaned it up, right? So the belt was the only issue with this deck. Everything was working as before, so nothing to do. I thought about replacing these, the lights in this VU meter, but I think I would just leave it virgin, just leave it as is, you know. So anyway, thanks for watching and see you on the next one. The Tascam BR20T belt has been replaced and the tape recorder is working just fine. See you next time. Bye.